Communicating competently at work brings oxygen to your career growth. Top-level career communication involves you selecting the right words for the specific person you're speaking with while considering the background context, your job position, and values. Unfortunately, we can often put our foot in our mouth at work. Our employee makes a demand and we have but a few seconds to respond. A client asks a really tricky question and we need a valid answer fast. Or maybe a fellow workmate makes unreasonable or unfair demands. Whatever it is, impactful speaking forms the kinds of good impressions you need to get ahead at work. So what can we do outside of the workplace to be ready for difficult conversations? We need to integrate assertiveness into our speaking toolkit. Today, we'll review 5 critical principles behind being assertive at work so you can stop stressing about speaking up aggressively and learn the actual strategy. Number 1, choose a realistic definition. There are many different dictionary entries for the term assertive. Keep listening to make sure you use the achievable entry. So, for example, the Cambridge Dictionary refers to assertiveness as an action in which you behave confidently, without fear, to voice what you want or what you believe. But let's erase that kind of definition. It's not helpful, and I'll show you why soon. Take a listen instead to my preferred definition, which you can find in the Collins Dictionary. Someone who is assertive states their needs and opinions clearly so that people take notice. Interestingly, the Collins Dictionary leaves out not being frightened. I would argue that being assertive does not negate fear. In fact, it's very typical to feel worried, anxious, and fearful when we're being assertive. Why is this? Well, because the moments that call for us to state our opinion and needs are often emotion-charged, and the stakes can be really very high. And this is why a lot of people make errors. Take a listen to these 2 errors. Wrong would be the use of passive communication, which entails you just avoiding speaking up. Wrong also would be aggressive communication, in which you share your needs and opinions, but offload how you feel about it in an egocentric and aggressive manner because you haven't yet learnt how to be assertive. Now, most people tip between the passive and aggressive extremes until somewhere along the way, they realize that assertive communication is missing in their toolkit. Perhaps you've clicked on this video because you just can't integrate assertiveness effectively. Or maybe you feel like you're losing impact at work and missing out on executive and managerial roles. Whatever it is, get clear on assertiveness and choose a realistic definition, and don't be too hard on yourself while you work at integrating this new skill into your communication. The next principle to consider is that assertiveness is not a personality trait. It's something we all need to learn, even leaders. It's a skill, not a trait. We're not born naturally assertive. In fact, being assertive is a high-level communication skill that we just need to learn and practice, rather like public speaking, writing persuasively, or chairing team meetings. My third principle for you is that assertiveness is definitely not your temperament. And what do I mean by this? Well, just because you know how to be assertive doesn't mean you should always use it in all moments. By the same logic, it would mean that just because we know how to speak in meetings doesn't mean we should speak for the entire meeting. Assertiveness is a skill that you use selectively and with thought. And fighting for your agenda all the time, everywhere you go, and expressing your opinion and needs all the time can be both obnoxious and irritating to everyone around you. So don't overdo it. Effective mastery instead involves you knowing when to enact assertiveness so that it supports your needs and position while maximizing unity and rapport with your conversation partner as best as possible elsewhere. Would you like to pick up more tips to elevate your professional speaking so that you can get more comfy and have more impact at work? Head to my website at sarageiger.com and sign up as an email subscriber. I promise I won't spam you, but I will send you a weekly tip that will add some sparkle to your professional speaking. My fourth principle for you to remember is this one. You can't spot an assertive person. Yes, that's right. You cannot necessarily spot an assertive person. Assertive people don't look a certain way. They're not big and towering and military-like. They're not stern and frowning and gruff. So don't try to embody specific physical behaviours when presenting assertively without consulting with a communication expert first. Assertive people are not necessarily intimidating. And if a communicator looks intimidating when they're attempting to be assertive, they've breached the skill of assertiveness. As we learned, assertiveness is about sharing your opinion and your needs with clarity, not intimidating, sidelining, manipulating, and making others feel threatened. So we see the difference between assertive communication and aggressive communication. Any communication space is not all about us. So we mustn't get confused with being assertive and being all about ourselves, although at times we do need to share our opinions. For assertiveness to be successful, and I'd actually push professional at work, you want to be able to maintain the balance between self-advocacy and advocacy for your conversation partner, or else you're at risk of toxic communication. My last powerful principle for you is that assertive behaviour should not distance you from the other person. Instead, it should invite the other person to consider your needs, opinion, and perspective. Being assertive is not about alienating yourself from the other person, but sharing your opinion and point of view. It's also not necessarily about making people see it your way and follow your way. That would be coercion. Assertive communication will provide you with a platform to share your perspective to get clearer on boundaries and no's you wish to give voice to, but it doesn't necessarily force your conversation partner to do what you want. Once you start seeing assertiveness as the first step to sharing your opinion and your world before a deeper discussion, it gets a little easier to start integrating the skill, even if there's a risk of pushback. Remind yourself that assertiveness opens your conversation partner to options and creative ideas that they may not have considered, rather than forcing them to do what you want. This tip can make you feel much more comfortable when you go to present your point of view. I hope that these 5 fundamental principles have provided you with an overview of assertiveness and, importantly, made you feel less pressure about suddenly transforming yourself into an assertive person, whatever that looks like. Remember, this is a communication behaviour and a skill that we should use selectively, and something that we all need to learn and practice. If you got this far in today's episode, I would love if you could head to the comments below and write, "Assertiveness can be learnt," and give this one a thumbs up while you're at it. Now, you can pick up more detailed tips about assertiveness over on the blog. I've linked a special post for you today in the comments that will take these concepts and actions further. Do you have a question about assertiveness? I love questions. Please feel comfortable to write any questions you have about this topic in the comments. I read every single word, absolutely love communicating with you, and I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining me in this episode. I feel honoured that you'd actually set aside some time to watch this content. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and ciao for now.